I'm inspiring the next generation to be leaders through the written word. I've got this. Okay, class, it's time for writing.
Yes! Okay, class, it's time for writing. Ugh, not again. Jameson, take your hood off. Now, writing is fun, everyone. I want you to go ahead and get your pencils and your notebooks out and write a paragraph about what makes you special. Now, who needs some help? Yes, Jamelia? I don't know what to write about. Just write about yourself. Jameson, please lift your head, put your hood down. It's time to start writing. Do we have to use complete sentences? Yes, you have to use complete sentences. And don't forget the descriptive words, class, and capital letters, and indent your paragraphs. Yes, Jamelia?
My cousin's neighbor's dog is having puppies.
Wow, that's great. Miss Jamie, how do you spell fart? F-A-R-T, but maybe you should be looking for a different word.
I'm done. Do you love it? I wrote about you, Miss Jamie.
It's great, but you were supposed to write about yourself. All right, who still needs help? Hold on, I'll be right there. Miss Jamie. Miss Jamie.
I'll be right there.
Yes, did I spell this right?
Miss Jamie, I'm pressing the button.
I'll be right there. Is it time for lunch yet? Everyone, I'll be right there. First, I gotta check on our at-home learner, Jaime. Jaime, how are you doing? Can we see your writing?
Miss Jamie, can you hear me?
You're on mute. You gotta unmute yourself. Just click the button that looks like a microphone. No, not that one. All right, never mind. Just take your writing and put it up to the camera so I can see it. Okay, who wants to just do math?
Hey there, it's Jamie from Not So Whippy Teacher, but I'm also known as Miss Jamie or Jamelia or Jaime or Jamal, whatever you want to call me. I'm so excited you're here. Tell me, did you feel like when you were watching that video that maybe I was in your classroom recording a writing lesson that happened right there in your classroom? Did that feel a little bit uncomfortable? Because it was like, yeah, that happens all the time in my classroom. It was incredibly accurate, right? That's exactly what I thought when I was creating it. I have seen it so many times and I laugh every time. Amy says, this is totally my class. Yes. Stephanie, so real. Awesome. I'm glad you relate to that. And I also want you to know that here, this is a safe place to admit that our writing lessons don't go exactly how we dream they would go, but you're here because you want to make some changes to your writing block. I'm guessing lots of you here are thinking, writing workshop, it's chaotic. Tell me, anyone think it's chaos? All my kids' hands are in the air, just like kids in Miss Jamie's classroom. They all want different things, and some are off topic, and some don't want to write. And it's really hard to keep up with all the needs. Anyone ever feel like it's just pure chaos? Anyone here think, I don't really know how to teach writing. Like, I know how to write, but I don't know how to get an 8 or a 9-year-old to write the way I think they ought to write. Anyone feel that sometimes? Yeah, I hear ya. I felt that way. And then some of you are here thinking, my students aren't growing. They aren't meeting the expectation, or they might not pass those standardized tests or just that end of year rubric. I don't know how to make them grow. Anyone feel that way? Yeah, Heather said teaching writing scares me. Heather, I was in that boat for sure. I totally understand that one. Erica says that's exactly how I feel. If this is how you feel, if you're relating to this video and what I'm saying here, then you are in the right place. And we're about to have a really good time in this training where I'm going to be sharing with you some incredibly helpful strategies that help me to turn my chaotic writing block into something that was much easier and much more effective. So if you're up for it, let's go ahead and jump right in. The training today is called 3 Little Known Secrets to Easily Transform Your Students into Excited and Thriving Writers. Doesn't that sound amazing? What if it could be easy to have writers who really wanted to write and were growing? It can be. I'm going to share with you 3 secrets. This is my promise for you for this training. By the end of this training, you are going to be excited to walk into the classroom on that first day of school and implement some new strategies that are going to make writing easier and more fun for you and your students. So go ahead and tell me a yes in the comments if that sounds pretty good to you. This is, by the way, very audience participation kind of training. So if it sounds amazing to you to have some new strategies that help you and your students to find writing easy and fun, just give me a yes in the comments. All right, we got a lot of yeses now. Yes, please. Awesome. Then you're in the right place. Here's the thing. I'm going to give you 3 of the most important steps. I think these will transform your writing block. I can't teach you everything there is to teaching writing because I've got an hour to do this training. But I'm going to give you the 3 most important steps. If you love it, if you want more, I'll show you how you can continue to work with me. But I want you to know that these strategies I'm going to share with you, they will work if you commit to taking some action, if you're brave enough to try new things. So if you're an action taker, just tell me so in the comments. Do I have any action takers who are pretty excited to try a new strategy so that you can have better results? Who's an action taker? I'm looking for my action takers here. I got a lot of yeah. Let's do it. An action taker. Awesome. We've got to be brave enough to try new strategies. I'm going to tell you that's how I got where I'm going. Here we go. Here's some action takers. Yes. I'm willing to try anything at this point. So ready. I love trying new things. Yes. Okay. Then you're in the right place, my friend. I wanted to tell you, stick around through the training. Yes, I'm going to give you those 3 really important secrets, but also I'm going to be doing some giveaways throughout the training. I'm going to be giving away some free writing units. Those writing units include lesson plans, anchor charts, mentor text, everything to all the curriculum you would need to teach writing, as well as TPT gift cards. I'm doing this throughout the training. And in order to decide who I'm going to give a prize away, it's going to be very random. There's going to be people who I see engaging in the comments. People who are here and chatting with me are going to be easily entered to win one of these writing units or TPT gift cards. So it's just my way of saying thank you for being here. Now let's start with confession time. I'm going to be really, really open and honest with you. I was a terrible writing teacher. I thought I was going to be a great writing teacher because as a child, I loved to write. I actually would go to the school library, check out the thesaurus, and I would bring it out to recess with me, and I would write stories with very interesting word choice instead of playing on the playground like the rest of the kids. I thought I was going to be an author. I would send my work to young authors competitions. So I love to write. And when I became a teacher, I thought, well, obviously I'll be a great writing teacher because I have such a love for writing and my students will feel that love and they will have the same love. It's going to be amazing. And then I came into the classroom and I found out that's not how it works. It's great that I had a love for writing, but it wasn't enough. I didn't seem to have the tools or the strategies to help my students who came to me very reluctant. I don't want to write. Do we have to write? I don't like writing. I don't know what to write about. And I realized I didn't really know how to teach writing. I just, some reason, assumed they would just come to me loving it, and that is all that would matter. I cried about this. I felt very stressed about it. I realized that I never took any courses or was trained on how to teach writing. What about you? When you were getting your teaching degree, were you trained in how to teach writing? Because I had some courses on how to teach math, and I had some courses on how to teach reading. I had psychology and sociology. But when I thought back on it, I realized, I don't think I was ever trained in how to help an 8, 9, 10-year-old learn to write. Well, so I didn't have any strategies. I didn't have any tools in my toolbox. So I was very disappointed. I was embarrassed. I was let down. And what I started to do was I would put writing at the very end of my day. It was the last thing on my schedule. And I would just hope, or even sometimes make math or reading go a little bit longer. Like, oh no, math centers took a little longer today. Well, I guess there won't be time for writing today, but that's okay. We'll do it tomorrow. And I mean, I'm not going to lie. One time there was a fire drill and I was like, oh, wow, I guess we don't have to do writing workshop today. I was super reluctant to teach writing because those first several weeks went so badly and because I just didn't know how to do better that I actually hoped that other things would go long so I never had to get there. I wasn't doing my kids any service by doing this, but a lot of teachers I found put writing at the very, very end of the day. It's like, we won't skip reading, we won't skip math. If we have to skip anything, it'll be writing. But here's the thing. At the time, I thought, I'm the only one who doesn't know how to teach writing. I don't know why I thought this, but I thought I was on an island and that every other teacher had all these great strategies. In fact, I would look at their bulletin boards and all their craftivities and all their kids' writing looked much better than my kids' writing. And so I assumed that every other teacher knew exactly what they were doing when it came to writing workshop. So I didn't want to go to my team and say, hey, I don't know how to teach writing workshop. They would think I was a terrible teacher all around if I did that. And so I kept it to myself and I just struggled internally with how to help my students to grow. But just like you, I didn't want to let my students down. I knew I had to do better. I knew writing was incredibly important. And so I taught myself to be a better writing teacher. I tried all kinds of new things. Just like you, I committed to taking action. I was brave. Some things worked, some things didn't. One thing that helped me was I started looking at what was working in reading and math. And I started asking, well, why am I not doing this in writing workshop? And over time, I found strategies that worked. I saw my students start to get excited about writing. I saw scores start to go up and I started to be a whole lot less scared about writing. In fact, I started to look forward to it. It was kind of like it became more of a calm, peaceful time in my classroom instead of that chaotic time that I had become used to. One summer did a Facebook Live right here where I shared just a couple of things I had done differently that year in writing. I was still a little bit nervous to talk about it because in my mind, I thought everyone already knew how to teach writing. Remember, I was the only person who didn't know. Well, I shared a couple things I'd been doing and teachers were like, tell us more. Can you tell us more? And that's when it really hit me. I wasn't alone. As teachers, we haven't been given the tools and the strategies to teach writing effectively. We're struggling a little bit, but we want so badly for our students to love writing and to grow. And so I've started sharing my strategies on this page, on my blog, and creating a professional development program and curriculum. And at this point, I've had the pleasure now of personally helping well over 7,000 educators to be confident writing teachers in my professional development program, which I'm so excited that I've gotten to be able to do that. It really lights me up. And then this one really surprises me, but I'm so proud of it. My writing curriculum is being used in more than 18,000 classrooms around the country, which is so exciting to go from the teacher who dreaded teaching writing to being a teacher who can help you love writing. That's what I want to do today. Cheryl is one of the teachers who took my professional development program, and she told me this story that she had this student. I think you're going to relate. I think you've got the same student probably in your class every year that Cheryl had, but he came to her and he said, I hate to write. I hate it. Have you had a kid say that? I mean, I had lots. So I hate writing and it just hurts. And she told him by the end of third grade, you won't hate writing anymore. And she got back to me at the end of the year and she said he flourished as a writer, but here it gets even better. It's now his favorite thing to do. Like his favorite subject. He went from hating it to it being his favorite. She said the parents were over the moon and she just loved that her students were sharing their ideas through writing. So I want you to have the Cheryl experience where you can help students who come to you a little bit reluctant and turn them into writers. Yeah, we can do this, all right? So I'm going to show you 3 strategies that are going to help you to do this. Because can you just imagine what it would feel like to have a classroom full of writers just like the student in Cheryl's classroom who went from hating it to loving it? Wouldn't that be amazing to have all of your students feel that way? Oh, that would be amazing. So let me tell you where we're going to go in this training. I'm the kind of person who really needs to know an agenda, a schedule. So I want to give that to you. Number 1, I'm going to share with you 3 ways to shorten your writing lessons. After that, I'm going to share with you the number 1 way to instantly improve writing lessons. And then I'm going to share a must-do strategy that is going to help you to eliminate the chaos that we were talking about at the beginning, the chaos that was in Miss Jamie's classroom. I will then share with you how you can continue to work with me, and I'm going to end with a live Q&A. Now, if you have a question along the way, go ahead and stick it in to the comments. My team's watching it. They're grabbing these questions and throwing them into a Google Doc for me so I can make short and answer questions. So if you think of one along the way, stick it in there. We will make sure and get back to you. Let's do this. Let's talk about the 3 secrets that lead to excited and thriving writers. Secret number 1, my friends. Get your pen and paper out because it's time to take some notes. Here we go. Secret number 1. Keep the lessons mini. Your writing lesson should be no more than 10 to 15 minutes. So I'm a talker. I mean, if you've been following me long, then you probably know this. I love to talk. And I would get in front of my students for a writing lesson, and I would give a monologue up there. My thought was, maybe if I say it enough times, they'll understand it. Maybe it'll start to make sense. But I also had this feeling of like, if I talk long enough, then we won't have to go to that chaotic time where they're all writing, because that's hard to manage. But here's the thing that I learned the hard way. Short lessons are going to help with classroom management. We know this. We know this to be true, but we need to be reminded sometimes. When we're up there just talking and talking and talking, it's hard for our students to stay focused, right? So that's when they start to, talk to their neighbor, pick up their shoes, eat their pencil. And then when you have to stop your lesson to handle these situations, you also take up even more time. So if we talk less, then our students have less time to get off task. You guys know, you've been to some staff meetings where someone stood up there and they talked and they talked and they talked and they talked, and you got off task and you started looking at your phone and scrolling through social and texting your friend. We've all been there. You don't have to fess up to it, but we've all been there. Also, short lessons are going to help with increased retention. Our brains were not made to have a fire hose of information shot at us at one time. When that happens to any of us, children, adult, we only remember a small portion of it. Well, if we're going to teach our students these amazing lessons, we want them to remember them and use them later. So when we stand up there and we're like, these are all the things good opinion writers do. They have an opinion statement, and they have reasons, and they have examples, and a good ending where they repeat the opinion statement, and they have good word choice, and don't forget to spell right. When we just start laundry listing, that's what I used to do, by the way, everything we think our writers should do, we overwhelm them. And that means they don't remember everything we say. And then we're frustrated. We're like, I told them to do all these things. Why are they not doing them? Because it's hard to remember when someone tells you a whole bunch all at once. Got to chunk it up. This one's my most important, though. Short lessons help students to gain confidence. What I realized was I had so many reluctant writers who hated to write because they had never had the experience of success and confidence in writing prior to coming into my classroom. And the best way to help a reluctant writer start to get excited about writing is for them to have some success and build confidence. So if I give a short lesson, ask them to do something small, they have many more opportunities to be successful and build that confidence. And we are going to talk about this more during the training. We're going to come back to this whole idea of students gaining confidence and how we can help them in our short lessons. because I think this is the most important. When they have confidence, they start to get brave about putting words on their paper. That's when they turn from being that reluctant writer to being that excited writer that Cheryl was talking about just a few moments ago. So in a normal workshop model, you guys have probably seen something like this before, but in case you haven't, I want to go over it real quick. In a workshop model, you start with a mini lesson. And like I was saying, this is your 10 to 15 minutes. After that, you go into the independent writing time, which is 15 to 25 minutes. You're going to notice this is the biggest piece of the pie. This is where the most time is spent. Not on the mini lesson, on the independent writing, because that's where they actually get to practice and become better writers. But that's the part that's also scary. So we're going to get to that. Then there's conferencing. Conferencing happens during the independent writing time. This is the time where we get to give feedback to our writers. And finally, we end with share time, which 5 minutes, no more than 5 minutes, but honestly can be done in 2 or 3 if you need to cut back time. So for a good writing workshop, you're going to need at least 30 minutes per day to focus on how to teach writing and to give your students the practice at teaching writing and then sharing it. 30 to 45 minutes. I think 30 minutes, you can make a massive difference for your students. 45 minutes, like dream. I love it when you get 45 minutes. There's so much you can do with it. But I know time is tight, so 30 minutes, we can do that. But let's talk about how we're good. Let's keep on the topic of this mini lesson. How are we going to keep it 10 to 15 minutes? Because a lot of you are like, well, it sounds all fine and dandy, Jamie, but how are we going to do that? Here's my best tip for you about keeping those lessons mini. We need to break the skills into very small pieces. Think about that Godiva chocolate bar and breaking it up into small pieces so that they get a tiny piece each day, not the whole chocolate bar. So what I used to do, I say like, okay, this week we're writing an opinion essay. So I'm going to give them their prompt on Monday because I lived and died by prompts and craftivities at that time. So I'll give them their prompt, their project Monday, and we'll work through it each day. We'll be done by Friday, and then we'll move on. What I found was that that meant I had to give really big lessons because I was trying to teach everything there was about opinion writing in those 5 days and have it completely finished. And so I had to talk fast. I had to give them a lot. They weren't retaining it. They weren't using it. And when I came back, maybe I had another opinion project a few days later or a few weeks later. Guess what? They didn't even know what opinion writing was. They'd already forgotten that quickly. We need to break it up into very small pieces. Let me give you a few examples of these very small pieces. Instead of teaching a lesson where you just teach all kinds of different leads for personal narrative, I had that lesson about, guys, we need a really good hook for our writing. Here's a whole bunch of examples. Here's a whole bunch of different ways you could write your hooks. Maybe I'd teach them 3 different types of hooks, right? In this big, long lesson, and they'd have no time to practice it because I would just giving them examples as for example of different kinds of hooks. So instead of doing that lesson, let's break it down into at least 2 days. You could break it down into 3 if you wanted to. You could have day 1 be 2 different strategies. These are a little easier strategies. So maybe you'd use automatopoeia and questions during day 1. And then you wait till day 2 to teach action because that one's a little bit harder. But it's that simple. We're teaching the same things. We're just breaking it down into 2 days instead of 1. And you really could break this down to 3 days if you needed to. This makes a huge difference. Heather says, yes, chunks. Keep it small, silly. I like it. We're watching these comments because when I'm done with Secret 1, I'm going to give something away here. So instead of a lesson, I'm just adding dialogue. I used to do this. I'd be like, guys, we need to add some dialogue. Dialogue are the words the characters say. So add some dialogue to your story today. Make sure you use quotation marks and commas and you punctuate it correctly. Here's a whole bunch of examples of how to do it. Do you see? And then there's no time for them to actually write. Instead of doing that like massive, overwhelming lesson, we're going to break this down into 3 days at least. It depends on your grade level, but at least 3 days. Day 1, what is dialogue? Sometimes we skip this. We think, oh, it's the actual words, and we just move on. Well, guess what? That's really confusing to kids. Honestly, it's confusing to some adults too. Maybe they see, Mom told me to clean my room. They think that's dialogue because it's talking about something Mom said. They don't see the difference between Mom told me to clean my room and clean your room, said Mom. They don't always notice that difference. It's important to take a day to chat about it. Day 2, you could start with some punctuation, but don't teach all punctuation of dialogue in a day. Punctuating dialogue is not easy. Let's just talk about punctuating dialogue with the tag at the end. That's the said mom or replied Jim or shouted Joe. Those are the tags. To be real honest, I wouldn't even move on to punctuating tag at the beginning unless my students were doing really well with tag at the end. I might teach tag at the end for a couple of days. So instead of giving it to them all in one big, huge, overwhelming lesson and then being frustrated because they're not using it and their hands are all in the air because they don't understand, I'm breaking it down into multiple days to keep that lesson super short. Does that sound good? Does that sound like something we could be doing? Let's just be real. We do this in math already. We do this in reading. We chunk, we break it down. We don't teach every multiplication strategy in one lesson. You don't say, today we're going to learn how to multiply. I'm going to teach you equal groups and tape diagrams and all the things today. We break it down into a lot of days, don't we? Because we want them to see a strategy, use a strategy, and then we teach them another strategy. We want them to remember it. That's why we chunk it down. So Lexi started to do much smaller lessons to teach in these chunks that I'm talking about. And she said she saw a huge difference. So her students were coming to her at the beginning of a unit, kind of feeling anxious. I'm sure you know this. Very anxious. Like, I don't know if I'm going to be any good at this. I'm not sure if I'm going to know what to write about. I don't know if I'll be able to do this the way I'm supposed to. I don't know if I'll have any ideas. But by the end of the unit, they were really proud and they were really excited. And she said, it was because we break the writing into small pieces and work on each one at a time. This makes them feel more confident in their ability. I love that. I love what Lexi's saying. She's helped to give her students confidence by just breaking it into small pieces instead of expecting them to take on those massive lessons and them not being able to remember it even days or weeks later. So this always gets asked like, oh, I mean, that sounds great, Jamie. It makes a lot of sense, but I've got a lot to teach and I got to get it taught by the standardized test or by the end of the year. I don't have a lot of time to break it into smaller pieces. And I understand that because that's what I said too. It does take longer to get through all the lessons the first time when you break it into smaller pieces, for sure. But here's the thing. When you break it up into smaller pieces and they remember it, then you don't have to do nearly as much reteach. So instead of teaching the same lessons over and over all year, you're just teaching smaller lessons once. So it really is helping to take less time in the long run. It's all the long game here. Does that make sense? Yeah, it's a big one. I have a couple more ideas for making those lessons short. I think the most important thing is that when you teach a smaller chunk, it's easier to make it short because now you don't have nearly as much you have to say or demonstrate. But here's some other tips. This one might sound silly to some of you, but it really does help. Practice your lessons ahead of time. So if you're a talker like me, it's important that maybe over the summer or towards the beginning of the school year, you practice your lessons. You can practice while you're showering, practice while you're driving to school in the morning. If you're not driving, you can actually time those lessons. This is to help you see how long you're going to talk. If it's really, really long, it's way past the 10 to 15 minutes, then you need to break that down into 2 lessons. But if it's only a little bit long, then maybe you can think back on that lesson and say, where was it that I repeated myself too many times? What am I doing that's taking me too long to explain? Now, you won't have to do this forever. I promise you do get better at it. You get to the point where you can gauge your time. But if you practice for a little while, then you can train yourself to get better at delivering these super short lessons. I learned this when I went to a math training, and I thought, well, not only do I need to do this in math, but I ought to do this in writing. Another tip for you, this may sound obvious, but if we're really honest, we all struggle with it sometimes, and that is to have all the materials ready for your lesson before your students even come into the room. We mean to do this, and we have good attentions, and sometimes we do it for a while at the beginning of the year, and then we start to get off. But here's the thing. When you go to teach writing and your Expo marker runs out of ink, and you got to go find a new Expo marker, or maybe it's missing because, I don't know, they go missing a lot, or you have to go get more anchor chart paper, or maybe you didn't pull up your lesson plan, so you got your binder and you're sifting to find the lesson for today, or maybe you want to share a mentor text, but you didn't get it out, so you're at the bookshelf looking for it. I mean, I know all these examples because I'm pretty much explaining what was happening in my room. When you do that, you'd be surprised how many minutes you lose. And when you only have 10 to 15, if you even lose 2 or 3 because you're getting materials out, that's a lot. I would actually put a timer up on my board for that 10 to 15 minutes. You decide whether you have 10 or whether you have 15. And when that timer went out, my time to teach that lesson was up. I didn't get any more minutes. So then I started taking it more seriously. I got to have all my materials ready because I get this short period of time to instruct. And so have those materials out ready to go. Some people like to do it the night before they even leave the classroom, or the afternoon before when they're getting ready to go home. They set out all the materials. Others like to come in a little bit early and set out all the materials. It really does save time and make your day so much easier. So these are some tips for you for saving some time on those mini lessons. Before I go on to secret number 2, I feel like this is a really good time to give away a full year writing unit to someone here who's been on the call. So I'm going to call out a name. Let's call Sarah. Let me see if I can get your name. Sarah Gaxiola. I think, I'm sorry if I'm saying it wrong. Sarah, I would like to send you, she's over there in our 3rd grade group. I'd like to send you our 3rd grade writing unit. Includes lesson plans and anchor charts and mentor texts that I hope will make your writing a little bit easier. Sarah, send us an email, jamie@notsowimpyteacher.com, as soon as we're finished with this training, and we'll get that unit over to you. But okay, we're going to make super short lessons because we want our students to have confidence and more time to write. Let's move on to secret number 2. I love this secret. We need to have students implement the lesson that we've just taught immediately. When I say this out loud, it sounds so obvious, right? Well, yeah, of course, you teach it. Now you want them to use it. That's how they're going to remember it. That's what you do in reading and math, right? You teach a math strategy and then you send them you give them a practice sheet or an activity or a center or something where they practice it. But in writing, that's not actually what was happening. In writing, I would give a lesson. And let's say I was giving that lesson on leads that we were talking about earlier. And I was like telling them how to have a really good hook and get their readers super excited. And I got passionate about this lesson. And then I sent my kiddos off to write. But they were all at different places in the writing process. So I had some kiddos doing pre-writing activities with some graphic organizers. And some students were drafting. And some students were revising. Some were trying to edit, maybe having like a peer conference that wasn't quite going well over there in the corner. Other students trying to publish. Maybe someone's like, can't figure out how to log into their Google Docs, or their Chromebook isn't working. So my whole class is doing something totally different. Only a few people in my class are actually going to be working on a lead today. So even if I taught the most amazing lesson, I've only got a few people implementing it right away. Now, my students who don't implement it right away, maybe a week or 2 from now, they need to write leads. Are they going to remember the strategies I taught them? No, we know this to be true. They're not going to remember it because they didn't use the strategy. So what do? How do we have lessons that they can implement right away when they're all at different places in the writing process? This was what was causing me so much trouble in writing workshop, was this feeling that I was teaching something that everyone didn't need right away. And it just didn't feel like it was a good use of our time. And that's why I'd have to repeat the lesson over and over again. Sound familiar? Here's what I do. After the mini lesson, give students a simple task that's related directly to that lesson. So you teach a lesson on leads, they got to go do something with leads. You teach a lesson on dialogue, they're going to do something on dialogue. You teach about endings, they're going to work on their ending. All right, okay, I'm following you, Jamie, following you. I call this an independent task. We keep this task super short. My problem was I gave them too long of a task at first, and some of our writers take much longer to write than others, and they weren't getting it done. So keep this task super short, something that can be completed by the majority of all students within 10 minutes. These short writing tasks are going to help students to take their writing through the entire process from planning to publishing. So you'll start by giving mini lessons about the planning phase. what is opinion writing, generating topics. And then you're going to give lessons about how to draft, lessons for a while about how to revise everything, a few lessons about editing, a few lessons about how to publish. You're taking them through the entire process, giving them an independent task each day after your lesson. So let me give you a couple examples of what this would look like. So if you're not sure what I'm talking about. So maybe you would say something like, now that we've talked about strong opinion statements and I've given you several strategies to make your opinion statement stronger, I want you to go back to your draft and revise your opinion statement so that it is stronger using one of the strategies we learned today. I want you to look at this. They're not being asked, go back to your seats, write 5 paragraphs, make it amazing, spell right, use paragraphs, topic sentences, concluding sentences. They're not being asked all that, right? That's what I used to do. Now I'm just asking them literally to revise one sentence. It's the most important sentence in the whole paper. We know this. If they don't have a strong opinion statement, it's going to be hard to write a strong opinion essay. So I gave them a couple strategies for making the statement stronger and said, now go back, make it stronger. Do you see how reluctant writers are going to benefit from this? They're like, what? I don't have to go write 5 paragraphs that are perfect. I just have to fix one sentence. Oh my goodness. I can do this. Mira's on it. She says the reluctant writers are going to feel more successful. Yes, exactly. Those reluctant writers are thinking, I can do this. And then you tell them like, wow, great job making that opinion statement stronger. And they feel good. And then when it happens again tomorrow and the next day, that's when they start to feel confident because of all of those times that they had success. Here's another example. Now that we've talked about using action as a lead, and I've showed you how to use action as lead, I want you to brainstorm a possible action lead for your story. So I'm asking them to use the strategy. I just taught them. I taught them one strategy, and I said, now go back and brainstorm how you could use that strategy. Again, all of my writers can feel successful with this. They don't have to worry right now about what a topic sentence is or how to write an ending. They don't have to worry about anything but the action lead, which allows them to be more successful. And they are much more likely to remember action leads weeks from now than if I had just told them, make sure that your essay has all the following. And then they're going to do it right away. Most of these tasks are going to be revision tasks, and they'll do them directly in their draft. Most of them are revision tasks because really you are revising your work for a while. It only takes a couple days to draft, to just get the initial idea on the paper. It's not good, it's not long, but then we spend a couple of weeks making it better. One mini lesson, one independent task after the other. And they'll do that directly in their draft. Yeah, it gets a little messy. That's okay. I had to get over the fact that writing isn't neat. Like when you're drafting, revising, and editing, it's not going to be neat. I wanted it to be because I like neat. We all do. It's kind of a teacher thing, but it's okay. If my students' drafts get messy, it means they've been revising and editing, and that's what I want them to do after all, right? This piece of writing that they're working on is called the masterpiece. Every day, they're doing an independent task on this draft. We're not all writing the same story. We don't all have the same content, but we're all doing that same task, that short independent task in the masterpiece every single day until we have completed it. And it is like a work of art. It's going to be better than any piece of writing your students have done prior to this because you broke it into small pieces and allowed them to have success and build confidence, to not be overwhelmed. Heather says, I love that it's called the masterpiece. I know, right? My kids love it too because it's art. You put a lot of effort into it. Now, the magic of this masterpiece is that we're at the same place in the writing process at the same time. Every student's working on a lead at the same time. Every student's working on their ending, their dialogue, their word choice. We all do it at the same time. I teach a strategy, go do it to your writing. I'll teach you another strategy tomorrow, go do it to your writing. Even if they don't use every single strategy that I teach, their writing is still going to be significantly better than at the beginning. And that's what I want, growth. It helps students to feel more confident, and it's going to eliminate the chaos of that typical writing workshop where everyone's at a different place in the writing process at one time. That is incredibly stressful for me. It is hard for me to meet all their needs when they're all doing something different. I know they're all going to still be at different levels. That's hard enough. But when they're at all different levels and they're all doing something different at the same time, that is extremely challenging. Catherine did this She started using the masterpiece and the small independent task. And she said, all my students are applying the skill directly after the lesson. Now they're practicing immediately, and their final masterpieces were much stronger this year than in the past. They're being held accountable for what you're teaching them. This is what we do in other subjects. If you think about it, you probably teach reading and writing a lot like this, where you teach them something and ask them to practice it. So it makes sense that we do the same thing in writing. Am I right? Okay. Before I really dive into secret number 3, I'm having a lot of fun. I want to give away a TPT gift card. I don't know. Do we have any teachers here who love to get new resources on TPT during the summer and back to school? I'm looking over the comments. I've had so much participation. Thank you. It really feels good. Heather Smith Shepherd, I thank you for being here, participating in the training. Send me an email, jamie@notsomeonebeteacher.com. I'd love to send you a TPT gift card. And how about Abby Phillips? Abby, I want to send you a TPT gift card as well. Can you go ahead and send me an email after the training's over, jamie@notsomeonebeteacher.com, and we'll get you a TPT gift card. Okay, we're already ready for secret number 3. Allow students to work on 2 pieces of writing at one time. Are any of you thinking I've lost my marbles? Like, what? Why would we have them doing 2 pieces of writing at the same time? We are having enough trouble getting them to do 1 piece of writing, Jamie. This sounds way too hard. Won't it be confusing? I hear this all the time. Won't that just be confusing? So hear me out. Yeah, Megan says, what? Yes, I know. I would have said that too. But this solves a massive problem that we have. So we want to keep every student at the same place in the writing process because we know that helps us to eliminate that chaos. So we have that masterpiece. But I know a few of you have already thought about this. Yeah, but everyone's not going to work at the same pace. I might even give them a small task, but some of the students will finish that small task in 2 minutes, and some are going to take the full 10 to 15. And you're right. We know our students aren't going to write at the same pace. And so if they don't write at the same pace, they're going to finish that independent task and they're just going to work ahead in the writing process and in their masterpiece. And then boom, we're not in the same place anymore. And that was the original problem. We wanted them to be in the same place in the writing process, but they don't work at the same pace. So how do we keep them at the same pace? We can start all together, but it's pretty easy to get off because of this. So here's the solution. Instead, have students complete that writing task. You gave them that task. Maybe it was 1 sentence they had to fix. Maybe it was something they had to brainstorm, something they had to revise. After they're done with that task for the day, they do not move on in their masterpiece. Instead, those task finishers work on a second story or report at their own pace. I go ahead and divide my notebook up into 3 sections, and at the end, they have a section called Other Stories, and that's where they go to write another story. So now we still have that 1 piece of writing, that masterpiece, where we're all at the same place at the same time. And that's what we need, and that's what we want. And then our fast finishers have the opportunity to work on other stories, which means they get extra practice. So I get asked, what are the rules for the second story, Jamie? How's that going to work? I think, I don't know, it's us teachers. We love things to be just so. Here are my rules for the second story that I tell my students. The extra stories in the back, they must be the same genre that we're working on as a whole group. So if we're working on fiction narrative stories, then your other stories in the back must also be fiction narrative. If we're working on opinion essays, then your others at the back are also going to be opinion. If we're working on informational, then in the back you have more informational, right? And number 2, you must attempt to use the strategies that we're learning in our mini lessons. And here's the thing, they do. I mean, I make this a rule, but they do. Because I've given them so much confidence at using these strategies in their masterpiece, they are more than willing to use them in their stories at the back. Will they use every single strategy every single time? Absolutely not. But I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking for growth. Here's a little secret too. I don't grade the other stories. I consider those other stories to be extra practice. It's part of the differentiation that happens in writing. Some students will work on their extra stories every single day. because it maybe only takes them 5 minutes to do the independent task every day. And so they're always working on those extra stories, and that's great. It's so much extra practice. Other students will only get there maybe a couple times a week. Some might only get there one time a week, but that's okay because they're all working on that masterpiece and that independent task and implementing the lesson, and that's the most important part of the lesson. And then if they have time, they can practice it even more. So these are the secrets I shared with you. I've still got some more giveaways to do. I've still got some more things, but which one of these secrets is your favorite? Which one was your aha? Which one was the one, ooh, this is going to make a big difference in my classroom? Just put the number in the comments. I want to see. So we talked about first, number 1, shorten those lessons. That way you can make smaller pieces, chunk your information so that your students don't become overwhelmed and your lessons don't become maxi lessons so students don't have time to write. Number 2 was to get students using the mini lesson strategies right away with those daily independent writing tasks. If they use it, they're not going to forget it. And number 3 was to keep students at the same place in the writing process because we are tired of the chaos of everyone being in a different place. And the way we're going to do that is have fast finishers work on a second piece of writing whenever they finish their independent task. I'm seeing everything from 1, 2s, or 3s. Yeah. Which one? 1, 2, or 3? Mandy said 2 and 3. 2 and 3 are really directly related, right? It's going to make a massive difference. I never know what to do with kids who finish early. Yeah, I know. You're always going to have kids who finish earlier than others. Always. So we keep writing. You're not done with writing until I say writing's over, until the timer's up, until the class is complete. Yeah, number 3. It's kind of a big one. I still remember the day it occurred to me like, oh, duh, I'm making this too hard on myself. That's exactly what I was doing. And I think a lot of you realize, oh man, I know this, and yet I wasn't doing it. All right. I love this story from Maria. This is about her school year last year, and she was teaching virtually, by the way. She said she had 2 students, and I'm guessing you can relate to this, but she had 2 students who scored 2 out of 20 on their rubric. Oh my goodness, 2 out of 20. Can you just feel the pain Maria must have felt when she graded those first writing samples, and 2 of her students had 2 out of 20. At the end of the year, she said one of those students now scores 16. 16 out of 20. Whoa. I mean, wouldn't you be excited about that kind of growth? She said the other one is a student who has special education services, but this student also went up by 9 points, so was scoring 11 out of 20. That is, again, massive growth. She said even her more advanced students, they also deepened their writing. Do you want to have these kind of results that Maria's talking about? You want to have this kind of growth? Can I help you to implement a successful writing workshop? Would you like that? Would you like me to continue to help teach you some of these strategies that can turn your writing workshop around? I know the 3 secrets I shared today are going to make a huge difference, but would you like more? If so, you are invited to the Not So Wimpy Writing Masterclass. This is an online professional development program. It is completely self-paced, and it was designed for teachers in grades 2 through 5. So if you teach in grades 2, 3, 4, or 5, this was made specifically for you. It is time to stop feeling overwhelmed about teaching writing. It's time to see growth and to feel confident about teaching writing and to have students who feel confident as writers. I want you to feel confident about what to teach, how to teach with your limited class time, diverse student needs, whatever writing curriculum you may or may not have. By the end of the masterclass, these are some things that you will have. You will have nailed down a classroom schedule that includes time for writing. I know it's hard to find that 30 minutes, but we're going to work with you to help you. You will have learned how to deliver an effective mini lesson using mentor text and anchor charts and still keeping it to the 10 to 15 minutes. You will have the tools that you need to help your students to write independently for 20 to 30 minutes. If that doesn't sound possible right now, I understand, been there, but I'm going to help you. You will also have discovered simple strategies for conferencing. So many teachers tell me, I don't know how to conference. How are you conferencing? How are you giving that feedback? I'm going to give you strategies that will help you to conference with every single writer at least once per week. You will also have practical ways to help your students to love writing because I want that so much. That's my end goal, is that you feel confident and that your students love writing. You will have step-by-step plans for implementing writing workshop from day 1. I want you to know how to teach routines, procedures, grow stamina. These skills are going to set you up on the right foot for the rest of the year. And more than anything, you're going to have confidence when it comes to teaching writing and probably a little bit of excitement too. The masterclass has 7 modules. Real quick, module 1 is all about what writing workshop is. We're going to talk about finding time for it, and we're going to dive in a little more to these 3 secrets. In module 2, we're going to dive in real deep to just that mini lesson. What do you do during the 10 to 15 minutes? What do you teach? How do you teach it? How to use the mentor text? All of that. Module 3 is the independent writing time. We'll talk about the writing notebook. We'll talk about how to get students to write, how to help them choose a topic for writing. We'll talk about revising. That's a big one. And module 4, this is a big one. We're going to talk about conferencing and giving feedback, what to say. In module 5, I'm going to give you some practical strategies to spend less time grading. In module 6, I'm going to talk about how you can get your students sharing their writing every single day in 5 minutes or less. Every single student, every day, 5 minutes or less. In module 7, we're going to talk about starting your writing workshop at the beginning of the year. That's what we're going to talk about, the routines, the procedures, stamina. That way you start off right from day 1. So the masterclass comes with 7 modules. Those modules include 38 short training videos, as well as a workbook for note-taking. You'll find many printables inside of the course just to make things easier. So there's rubrics, conference forms, book lists, anything I could think of that would make it easier and faster for you, as well as a 10-hour PD certificate, all inside of the masterclass. So again, 38 training videos, a workbook, the PD certificate, but I also added on 3 bonuses for you because I really like bonuses. And bonus number 1 is a ticket to the Not So Wimpy live virtual event. This is my first time hosting a live virtual event. I'm so excited. The virtual event is Falling in Love with Teaching Again. We're going to be talking about really good habits that are going to help you to avoid burnout as a teacher, because it's so easy to burn out as a teacher. We're going to talk about productivity, getting more done in less time so that you have more time for you, your family, your hobbies. We're going to talk about work-life balance. We're bringing in coaches and other teacher experts. I am not selling tickets to this event. The only people who are invited are those who join my masterclass. It's the only opportunity to get to go. Bonus number 2 is actually an extra module. Once you've worked your way through the 7 modules, you'll be ready for this extra one where I share tips and strategies for all of the trickiest standards to teach in narrative, informational, and opinion writing. These are the lessons that are the hardest for us to teach and the hardest for our students to implement. So I'm going to give you some tips and strategies. You can watch these videos right before you go to teach those lessons to really give yourself a boost. And bonus number 3 is an 8-week Facebook group with live Q&A. This isn't like other professional development where you go to the training and afterwards you're on your own. We're going to continue to support you through the training so you can ask questions. And when you're done with the 8-week Facebook group, you're going to be invited to an alumni group where you'll continue to get support throughout the school year, where you'll be able to ask for help with lessons or a student maybe you're not sure how to approach, and share wins because there's going to be so many wins. When I sell this type of professional development program to a school district, it would cost $400, but I only charge $97 for the masterclass. That includes the entire masterclass professional development program and all of the bonuses that you just heard about. So if you're ready to sign up, we would love to have you. If you'd like to continue working with me to become a more confident, effective writing teacher, please join the Not So Wimpy Writing Masterclass. You can join at notsowimpyteacher.com/yes. notsowimpyteacher.com/yes. We can't wait to have you. Now, registration's open right now, but we only open registration once per year. Yep, only once per year. Once you sign up, you have lifetime access, which means you can watch the lessons anytime you want, as many times as you want. But you have to get signed up before we close registration next week. So notsowimpyteacher.com/yes. All right, I wanted to go in a little more detail about the modules for those of you who are still thinking about it. But module 1's all about taking the chaos out of a writing workshop. It's a lot about what we talked about here today. We'll dive in deeper to that, and we'll also talk about finding time for writing workshop, because lots of you are like, wow, I haven't been making time for it. We're going to help you with that. Module 2 dives into those mini lessons. So we know they should be 10 to 15 minutes long, but I'm guessing a few of you are thinking, yeah, but what do I do during those 10 to 15 minutes? I don't know what strategies to teach. She's talking about strategies for leads, but I don't know those strategies. I'm not really sure how to teach these mini lessons. I'm going to help you to use mentor text, to use anchor charts, and to make these lessons super simple for you so that your students have more time to write and you're not feeling so overwhelmed, you or your students. Module 3, we're going to talk about getting your students to write independently. This was a big challenge for me early on because I talked so much, and then when I did send them back to write, they didn't write. They just raised their hand or put their heads on their desk. We're going to talk about writing independently. We'll talk about the writing notebook. We'll talk about those independent writing tasks. We will talk about revising because I often get asked, how do you get them to revise? Well, it's so much easier than you think, and I'm going to help you with that in Module 3. Module 4, simple ways to conference with every writer. This is the biggest module, and it's usually the favorite for my masterclass teachers because conferencing and writing is kind of scary if you're not sure what to say and what to do. And really, if you haven't gotten your students to be writing independently, then it's really scary to also have to conference because what do you do with all the students who aren't working independently? We're going to help you with that. We're going to talk about what to say in a conference and how to make conferences easier and faster. We'll also talk about helping with editing. In Module 5, we'll talk about getting writing grades without taking papers home every day. I was making writing very hard on myself with all of those projects that I had to grade every week. So I'm going to share with you some strategies to get grades quicker, but we'll also talk about how to use rubrics and to make grading those writing samples just a little bit faster. In Module 6, we're going to talk about sharing student writing every day, every single day. How can we get students to share? And we'll even talk about celebrating writing with your whole class. This will be something that your students will find extremely memorable. By the end of the year, they will write about this in their memory books. And Module 7, we're going to dig into starting your workshop. We want you to start the workshop right. We want you to know how to teach routines, procedures. We're going to give you lesson plans. We're going to give you anchor charts. We're going to give you student printables to make it easy for you to get your writing workshop started. And then we're going to work on the stamina because for your students to be successful, they're going to have stamina. They're going to have to be able to write for longer than 2 to 5 minutes. We need them to write 15 to 20, to maybe 25, 30 minutes. So again, you get the 38 training videos, the workbook, the PD certificate, and other printables, but you also get all 3 of those bonuses, the virtual event ticket, that extra module that helps you with informational, opinion, and narrative writing. And then you get the Facebook group with live Q&As. Now, I've had some people say, well, this probably worked for you because you probably had a small class and they were all really advanced writers and maybe you had an aide in your classroom and you had the perfect curriculum and all the things. But I want you to know that, no, I didn't have that. I'm not special. I didn't have anything extra. The thing is, I just got tired of feeling inadequate. I'm thinking that you are tired of feeling stressed out and inadequate as a writing teacher as well, and that's why you're here. And I got brave enough to try new things. And I know I have a lot of action takers here who want to try new strategies. The cool thing is that I figured out what worked, and I'm super excited to share with other teachers. Just as a reminder, you said you were here because you were overwhelmed and you felt like your writing time is chaotic. I'd like to make it calmer for you. You also said you were frustrated and you didn't know how to teach writing, which I completely relate with. You probably weren't taught how to teach writing, and I want to switch that around. The master class is like the course I wish I'd taken when I was getting my teaching certification back in college. And you also said your students were not growing and mastering the writing standards like you really want them to. I want to flip that around. I want you to see the kind of growth that Maria and some of my other alumni have seen. Because once you get your students excited about writing and they have a little bit of confidence, that's when the growth comes. So wouldn't it feel amazing to be that confident writing teacher whose students are thriving and excited? That is what the masterclass is all about. Also, I want you to know that if you join the masterclass and you, for whatever reason, are not satisfied with the course, you can contact me within 14 days of enrolling, and I will gladly give you a full refund without any questions asked. But I wanted you to know about this. We have an extra bonus that is good only through midnight tonight. So it is Friday, so you have until midnight tonight to grab this extra bonus. Anyone who signs up for the masterclass by midnight will receive this free demonstration video, because I had a lot of teachers say, like, now that I've watched the course and I know what goes into a mini lesson, what would be great is if I could see it all put together. And that's what I did. We recorded myself teaching a mini lesson using the anchor charts and the mentor text. It's a 10 to 15 minute lesson, just like I teach. And I just think it helps to see at the end how it all goes together. And you will receive this bonus if you sign up for the masterclass by midnight tonight. So I want you to grab that extra bonus. Again, if you're ready to join the masterclass, we would love to welcome you. It's notsowimpyteacher.com/yes. We are super excited for this group of teachers who are going through the masterclass in 2021. Remember, we don't open registration again until next summer. So if you want to be a more confident writing teacher for your students this coming year, this is your time to register. It is self-paced, which means you can take the lessons now. You can take them in August. You can take them in January if you need to wait till then. But we won't be opening registration again until next summer. I love what Sky said. She said, this course is going to make you want to teach writing. It got me so excited. That's what teachers are saying. They're already saying that actually over in our Facebook group, which is just opened. So we've just opened registration this week. We already have teachers saying, oh my gosh, I'm so stinking excited about teaching writing this year. And they've just begun. I can't wait until they get through the whole course. Now, when you go to notsowimpyteacher.com/yes, this is what you'll see. I just want to walk you through it real quick. You'll see an enroll now button up in the top right-hand corner is pink. You won't miss it. Go ahead and click on that. And it will take you to the screen here where you can fill in your details. It's just your name and your email and your payment information. We accept credit cards and PayPal. And then you'll go to this confirmation page, which is awesome. From the confirmation page, you'll have a link straight to the course, as well as a link to the Facebook group. If you already have an account, maybe you did my grammar mini course or you are part of my sneak peek, then you'll be able to just click on the go to course and type in the password you chose for yourself previously and get started. If you don't already have an account, meaning you didn't take my grammar mini course or you didn't do my sneak peek, that's fine. Your password will be emailed to you within a few minutes. Make sure you check your junk mail for that, but it'll be emailed to you quickly so you can start the course right away if you want to. But it's self-paced, so you get to decide. But make sure you also join the Facebook group because there's already so much fun happening there. When you click to go to the course, this is what you'll see. This is your library. And you'll see right there the masterclass. And then underneath that will be any bonuses that you received, which you will receive bonuses today. Plus, you'll receive that extra demonstration video too. When you click into the course, the first thing you'll see is a Start Here video. It's a quick introduction from me, a little bit about myself and about what to expect in the program. Underneath that, you'll see your members area with all of your modules, with all the videos. You don't have to wait for them to be dripped out over a course of, over time. You can binge watch them right away if you want to because they're all there. Totally up to you. So again, if you're ready to sign up, it's notsowimpyteacher.com/yes. We're super excited to welcome you into the program today. I love this story from Christina. Last year, she was teaching online. I know many of you were, and she said every single one of her students met or exceeded the expectations, even though she was teaching online. I mean, isn't that amazing? And I think you will relate to this student. She said she had a student who would shut down about writing at the beginning of the year because he couldn't figure out what to write about. He just wouldn't write. We've all had a student like that, or a few each year. It happens. But she just taught those mini lessons with those independent tasks. And by the time it was time for standardized testing at the end of the year, he wrote a 5-paragraph informational essay. And she said, this was her word, she said, it was brilliant. So he went from being so reluctant that he wouldn't write at all to writing a brilliant 5-paragraph informational essay. He had no fear, no worry. He was confident. She's seen growth in all of her students. She said, I think everyone should take the course. I love this, and I want this type of experience for every single one of you. All right, time for some questions and answers and maybe another giveaway. Let's do another giveaway. Here we go. All right, let's see. All right, I've got some questions here, and I've got to do another giveaway. Radiant Ray, let's send you a full year writing unit. Are you still here, Radiant? We'd like to send you a unit, so you'll have to let us know what grade level. We have grades 2 through 5. Send us an email, jamie@notsowimpyteacher.com, and we'll get you that unit, which includes lesson plans and printables for you, which will be amazing to use once you've gone through the master class. All right, if you have questions, go ahead and type them in the comments. I've got several here to answer, and I'm going to try to get through everyone's questions. Abby said, will this be good for a newly graduated teacher who's not sure what grade level she will be in? Abby, I wish I'd taken this course when I was in college. I wish I had taken this course my first year of teaching. I wish I'd taken this course before I got overwhelmed and discouraged. So it's definitely a good course for a newly graduated teacher, but I want to tell you that this course is specifically for teachers in grades 2 through 5. So if you think that might be the area you'll be going into, it'll be perfect. But if you really might be a kindergarten teacher, it won't be a valuable course for that grade level. So I know that doesn't help a ton if you're not positive what grade level you're going to be in, but if 2 through 5 is where you're hoping to be, it would be a great experience for you. Catherine said, I'm intrigued with conferencing and how that works as a sped push-in teacher. Definitely, it's definitely different for special education teachers. We have lots of special education teachers who join us in the master class, and they have to take our strategies and sort of work with them because everyone's schedule and routine when it comes to special education is a little bit different. But with conferencing, there's a lot of things. The classroom teacher, Catherine, might want you to do the conference for that particular student or that particular group of students. So that might be a great opportunity to be able to serve the student and help the classroom teacher. And maybe the student will get extra conferencing because you're able to push in and maybe do some of those conferencing and feedback with the student. So that could be a really good opportunity. Abby said, I already answered Abby, sorry. Tori said, I've watched all of these videos. Will this be new information? Tori, if you're in the master class, then you already have lifetime access. You already have all of the videos, so you don't have to join. But if you've watched like some of my Facebook Live videos, this is different. This is comprehensive, everything from start to finish. So if you're in the master class, you have lifetime access and you don't need to sign up again. But if you're just saying, I've watched some of your videos on your page, is this going to be repetitive? No, the master class includes everything. And so it's very comprehensive and very detailed. I hope that helps. Natasha said, there's so many ranges in writing. How can you reach every student? Natasha, yes, I think that's the toughest part about teaching in general. But with writing, we seem to notice it even more, that we get students who are maybe 2 grade levels behind, 1 grade level behind, maybe on level, and some maybe 1 grade level ahead. And that's the tricky part. I think the writing workshop really works for our multiple different ranges because we're giving a short mini lesson. And then we're letting students practice while we are pulling groups of students to conference. So we can meet students right where they're at and give them extra support. Some students just need the mini lesson, they're good to go. Other students need us to go over that again, do another example, and be another support to them. And so I think that's where the conferencing and the workshop model really help your students. Ashley says, I already did that one. Angie, I like that you're giving great strategies with my reluctant readers. Maybe she meant writers. How do you wrap your excellent writers in there? When they finish everything quickly, I struggle pushing them too. And I think maybe you put that question in before we got to secret number 3, but our fast finishers move on and continue to write another story, which is so exciting to them because they get to continue to use the strategies, but they usually have a ton of story ideas. So it's their opportunity to keep using those extra story ideas. Tori said, do we have access to work at our own pace, or is this occurring on certain days? Tori, great question. You get to work at your own pace. Some teachers just got out of school a couple days ago and they're like, I need a break. That's fine. Come back to it in a few weeks or a month if you'd like to. Other teachers are going back to school next month and they're ready to learn and dig in. So you can binge watch it. You can watch 1 video a day. The only thing that's at a certain time would be our Facebook Live Q&As. But even if you can't make those, you can always watch replays later. So there's nothing you have to come to at a certain time. How long is each module? So every module is a little bit different. They're not exactly the same length. Like module 4 is longer than the others because it's conferencing. And I think teachers in general are a little bit scared about writing conferences. So they need that extra support. So that module is a little bit longer. But on average, videos are about 10 minutes. Some are slightly shorter and some are longer, but they're on average about 10 minutes. We chunked the information for you, just like we teach you to do for students, so that it would be easier for you to watch a video very quickly while you're having your morning coffee. Jennifer said, do you recommend individual papers for each lesson or using a writing notebook? I always use a writing notebook. Individual papers get lost, crumpled. I mean, they go into the desk and they'll never be found again. So I love to use a writing notebook. And we have an entire lesson in the master class about the notebooks and getting them set up, but definitely notebooks. Just keeps everything together. A notebook might not last an entire year in some students' desk, but it's going to fare better than individual pieces of paper. Jean said, how do you divide your notebook? Jean, I divide my notebook into thirds, and there is a lesson in the masterclass showing you my notebook, but I use cardstock dividers, and we divide our notebooks into thirds. The first section is for resources. This would be like your graphic organizers if you want them to put any mentor text passages in there or planning papers in there. The second section is for the masterpiece, and the third section is for those other stories. And we have those dividers inside the masterclass for you too, so you can use those. Kara said, do you mark students' work after each mini lesson or just their final masterpiece? We talk all about grading inside of the masterclass, and you definitely can take grades on an individual independent task, but I would never say that you have to take a grade after each independent task. I think that would add a lot of pressure and time that you don't necessarily have to do. You'll be checking in with students regularly for conferences, and so it's a good time to check if they're up to they've been working, if they need some extra support. So you can grade an independent task, but you certainly don't have to grade them all. And when you said mark, I do not mark on the students' papers ever. Something I learned that I was not doing before. Mark all over their paper with my ink. I no longer do that. I treat their work like masterpieces, and you would never write all over someone's painting a masterpiece, so I never write on their writing either. Heather said, can students share the other piece with the class or just the masterpiece? During our share time, I ask them to share something very specific. And so if they want to share it out of another story or masterpiece, to me, that doesn't matter as long as they're sharing the specific thing I've asked them to share, which is directly related to their independent task, which is directly related to the mini lesson. I don't really mind that much. Most of my students like to share their masterpiece though. Audrey, how do students publish writing? I have an entire couple of lessons about publishing. There's so many fun ways to publish now. It can be as simple as rewriting it or typing it, but there's also a lot of really creative ways to publish that you might use sometimes. You don't have to use it all the time because it might take more time. Inside of our Facebook group, teachers often share creative ways they're having their students publish from time to time. So you will see tons of different ideas for publishing, but it really can be as simple as either rewriting or typing their work. Students do like to type. And for some of you, if you have Common Core standards, it might even be a standard that they need to type some of their writing. Let's see, Natasha, are the lessons included with the class? Natasha, I think you mean my writing units, the curriculum. The masterclass is a professional development program. It does not include curriculum. A lot of teachers in our program already have curriculum. Some don't. It's probably about half and half. So we didn't want to include curriculum since so many teachers wouldn't need it. However, we do offer our writing units at a 20% discount to our masterclass students. Inside of the course, you can purchase them. They're called VIP units, and you can purchase them at a 20% discount from what they're sold on TPT. That way, if you don't have writing curriculum and this would be helpful to you, you can grab them there at a lower price. Does anyone give them a writing prompt for their second other stories? I don't use a lot of prompts. Instead, I teach them how to generate their own story ideas. And since at the beginning of each unit, we generate a lot of story ideas, most of my students will use those story ideas for their other stories. I keep a set of task cards with some prompt ideas where my students can grab them easily if they feel stuck. And they're not like, write a report about George Washington, but instead they might say something like, write a report about someone that you learned about in social studies or something like that. So it gives them ideas if they get stuck, but I don't use a lot of prompts. Gina, every student share in under 5 minutes? Yep, every student share in under 5 minutes. We're gonna talk about how you can do this because really I was using an author chair. Any of you ever tried the author's chair where, one student gets up into the chair, and teachers are really good about making those author chairs look cute. And they share their story while everyone sits and listens. But let me say, it did not work like that in my classroom. First of all, my students didn't want to sit and listen. And then I really only had time for one student per day. And then when that started to get kind of overwhelming because I got tired of the students not behaving, then I would just stop doing it. I'm like, oh, we don't have time to share today. And after a while, we would just stop sharing. And there's no point in writing if you don't get to share with somebody. It doesn't have to be the whole story every day. It can just be a piece. but we want to be able to share what we do. You know, the students are coming up to you at recess like, look what I wrote. Heidi said, do you use power writing for building stamina? Heidi, for building stamina, I provide lessons inside of the masterclass for you, but I really teach them how to build stamina the same way I would do for reading stamina, where we work as a class and set a goal. And over time, we're really competing with ourselves as a class. And I will teach you how to do that. Erin, I struggle with teaching writing to my ELLs. Are there strategies to address their needs? I think the most important thing for teaching to an ELL student is that whole chunking. They're really not going to do well when you're giving them way too much at a time. So when you teach one strategy and say all you have to do is implement that one thing, they're going to be so much more successful. So I think that's the most important strategy that's going to help your ELLs. It helps all your struggling writers, but definitely going to help your ELLs. Okay, I think I caught all of the questions, but if there is any other questions that I have somehow missed, or if you think of something later, definitely go ahead and shoot the question into this comments. You can also go ahead and head over to notsompteacher.com/yes. That's where you can sign up for the Not So Impy Writing Masterclass. We also have a chat feature there on the page. So if you think of a question, want to get a quick answer, you can head over there and my team and I will make sure that you get an answer. But we are super excited to welcome you to the Not So Impy Writing Masterclass. We're going to help you to become more confident writers with students who are excited and thriving. So we'll see you inside the Not So Impy Writing Masterclass. Again, the address is notsoimpyteacher.com/yes. All right, have a not so wimpy day. Bye.